This is Doug with the Practicing Accountant Podcast. Thank you for joining us for today's episode. We'll be discussing managing the people pleaser, that nasty, horrible, evil people pleaser, and also a little touch on creating a strategic fall roadmap. We'll talk about the challenges of managing the people pleaser and also how to be strategic as you prepare for this upcoming fall season.
My household's a little disrupted today. We are 1 week away from the start of school. So there's some tension, there's some stress, there's some excitement, mostly coming from my spouse of, finding a routine again here shortly. And otherwise, there's just kind of this darkness that's kind of hovering over our home and my son mostly, the impending doom of school starting here soon.
You bet. What grade's your son going into?
He'll be a sophomore.
Oh, yeah. That's high stress time in your life.
I don't know. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. And the biggest thing for him is waking up early. Sure. I have to, I instigated this last night, which he wasn't too excited about, but to wean him into next week, I turned off the wireless service in our house starting at 11 o'clock. So, he can't play Call of Duty or whatever he's playing till later hours and into the morning anymore. So he handled it well. I was proud of him, but at the same time, that's the truest sign is when I start regulating the wireless, and when it's on and off in the house is the worst sign of school coming.
Yep, I could see that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah. I remember school starting was just impending doom. The summer coming to an end. You have all the fun is over, but a little bit of excitement, but not nearly as heavy a feeling as the impending doom coming on. I hated school. Right? I hated school so much.
Well, my daughter's school clothes shopping today, so we'll see how she does. And we discussed budget last night. We'll see how she comes in on that budget. I have a feeling it's going to be broken, but again, give her a shot. We'll see what happens.
Sure. I mean, as long as you have a goal to set, maybe should be within reason, right?
Sure. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Just don't give that same budget to your wife. That doesn't work. I tried that.
Yeah.
So, well, we're talking about the fall roadmap here. So what should we be focusing on the next few months? Getting through extension season and preparing for next tax season.
Well, there's been a common theme I've noticed in my coaching as of late. And, it's always been there, but for whatever reason, it's just more profound right now. And what I mean by in my coaching, I mean, I'm seeing clients working on this. A lot of my clients working on this right now, and that is managing the people pleaser.
Mm-hmm.
And, I kind of jokingly refer to it as your PP and, to manage your PP. But joking aside, it seems to me that it's one of the root causes of capacity concerns and issues is the lack of managing the PP, the people pleaser. It's that, folks are in positions to do work for someone else, and it might be, a phone call that comes in. It might be an old client that came back. It might be the friend of the neighbor down the street, or it might be the neighbor down the street, or it might be someone you just happen to have lunch with. And they all have need of good service from a CPA or a firm. And knowing that you are what you are, they're going to ask you for your help. And they're going to say nice things like, you know what, it would be really great to work with you. And I've heard great things about you. And I saw what you did over on this guy and that girl, and it's just great what you've done. And you really seem to care and do good work. And they kind of grease the wheel a little bit, right? And then they say, is there a chance that, you could do my stuff next year or this year even?
Yep.
And in that moment, we forget who we are. We forget how much work we have. We forget our obligations. We forget what we're trying to intentionally create with our business and lives. And we go, yep, sounds good. I can do that. Send your stuff over. I'll take a look. I'll get you the required papers. We'll have you set up here by the fall. And that
Well, that's
people pleaser.
Sorry to interrupt you. That's a result of a very deep human characteristic, which is the need to be liked or
Sure.
accepted. And that's an easy way to be liked or respected or accepted is to say yes.
Well, it's a lot of people out there who've read How to Win Friends and Influence People that are, using words and emotions to get you to do something they want you to do. They want you to do. Yeah. And whether they've read the book or not, they're basically just putting you in a position where it's hard to say no.
Yeah.
And because we maybe aren't as vigilant, aren't as self-aware, or just aren't being intentional, we react to that emotion and to what we feel is someone valuing us with a yes. And what we don't have the opportunity in the moments to really consider is the effect of what one more client will have. Or we justify it by saying, oh, you know what? This year won't be so busy because there won't be this new regulation, or I won't have to deal with this transaction, or I've got this additional resource. And we cognitively craft a way to say yes, to make sense. And that's coming from a place of an optimistic bias, where we are projecting that this will work out. And we've always gotten it done before. Why couldn't we do it now? But as we head into this fall, and especially because I'm not saying no one's shopping right now, but there's probably not a lot of people shopping for a new tax preparer or accounting firm at the moment. August tends to be a little quiet, but soon, September, October, November, December, we're going to be in a position where a lot of folks are changing. A lot of people were underserved. A lot of people got extended and didn't want to. A lot of people were late. A lot of people were surprised, and they're going to be searching for a new service provider. And so if we go into this fall unprepared to know if we should say yes or no, it's the biggest mistake that we can make. It starts with the people pleaser. It starts with managing it. It starts with saying, all right, what am I going to say yes to, if anything?
Mm-hmm.
And what does it look like? What is the opportunity of it? What are the fees of it? What is the scope of it? Like, what's that ideal opportunity that I have to say yes to because I want to say yes to it? And really building that filter of what is something you'd say yes to going into the next couple months, because that phone will start ringing. At lunch, people will ask. There will be interest in what you do going into this fall. And if you don't create this filter, if you don't address the people pleaser, you're going to get to next busy season and it's going to feel just like this last one, which I'm guessing was too busy, too crazy, not enough capacity, tired. I was stressed. I took a couple months off. I feel better now. And we're getting back on that hamster wheel again. So I would encourage, the intentionality and the awareness to address the people pleaser before they start calling. I actually went to ChatGPT and asked it the question earlier today. I said, how do you stop people pleasing? And got an answer from our AI friend here. And self-awareness was number one. Which is kind of what we're talking about, self-aware of what you can and can't do, right? Understanding the causes. Well, I think you touched into that, some of the emotional and psychological effects of feeling valued and liked. Setting boundaries, which is very much something us accountants are just fantastic at, or could use some help with. Prioritizing self-care, practice self-validation, challenge negative thoughts, a bunch of other stuff. The one that I think appreciated most in this was just putting self before others.
Mm.
We're in professional services. We serve clients. We spend most of our time making sure someone else is happy with what we're doing, to the extent we can influence that. Very rarely do we step back and say, okay, how is this guy doing or this gal doing? How am I experiencing this? What do I need to do about me. How do I take care of me so I can serve more people and maybe serve them better? But ultimately, that's what people pleasing or an antidote to that people pleasing is putting yourself first.
Sorry to interrupt this episode. This is Doug with the Practicing Accountant, and I just wanted to remind you all of the benefits of being a member of the Practicing Accountant. We have group coaching, we have training, we have lots of great content for you to consume. Please visit us at www.thepracticingaccountant.com to learn more. Now back to this episode.
Going into this fall, my challenge to anyone listening to this is put yourself first a little bit more. Answer yes when you want to say yes and are excited to say yes because it's what you want to do, not because you were put into a corner and feel like you have to say yes because they asked. But put yourself first a little bit going into this fall. In that roadmap of people pleasing, I would add to it, putting yourself first, taking care of yourself, working out, reading, being with family, being with your spouse, spending time on the business rather than always in it.
There's what's the saying? Put your mask on before you help anybody else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Similar thing. If you aren't in a place, or if you're operating from a place of scarcity or panic or crisis, there's no way you can help someone else in an emergency or serve your clients in a tax season. So
yeah, right. There won't be any of you left to even take care of anyone, right?
Yeah.
So take care of yourself first. So those two first things on the fall roadmap, I would encourage this audience to consider is managing the people pleaser and putting themselves first more. And then the third thing is just strategy. Here's the problem that we have right now is that it's August and I'm complaining about school starting. Well, accountants are complaining about the 2 deadlines that are coming up, and especially the one in October. And they're starting to gear up again, right? They've taken June partially off, mostly off. July, that went by so quick, they don't even know if they took time off or not. August, you start really kind of getting back into things, assessing what still needs to be done, getting resources or assigning resources, planning out the next 2 months and how we're going to get all these extensions done and all this work done prior to the deadline. Now that sounds strategic and it sounds nice. That's what you should be doing. But where I want our focus to be is on the day after. So October 17th. What happens on October 17th? We filed everything. Everything's that we needed to has been pressed sent on, and we've received confirmations received. And now we're sitting there on a Tuesday in October, catching our breath after another busy season. What do we do then? I don't necessarily have the answer to that. I've got some ideas. Do you? What do you got?
No. It's to do everything that you didn't do after April 15th.
Right? Before January, right?
I mean, after the deadline in April, you had all these plans to get all this shit done during the summer, and you probably didn't get it done because you weren't intentional about it. Yeah. So now on October 17th, now your list is, a whole summer's worth of things long that you have to pack into between now and Thanksgiving, essentially.
Well, what I would encourage the audience to do is on the 17th, because all those clients are fresh. All those clients are ones that you've held at least for the previous 10 months. I think the first thing to do is go through and decide who stays and who goes. Who is on this list that I do not want to be working on a year from now.
Anecdotally, the clients that I was filing the week of the extension deadlines were people that we should and ultimately did let go because they were that late.
Possibly.
If they wanted to, and sometimes you're waiting on a K1 from another accountant or something like that. But
sure.
Generally, it's those people are very last minute, and you're waiting until October to file something that probably could have been done much earlier in the year.
Yeah, I don't even care why. I really don't. At that point, after being with that client for at least the 10 months, for one reason or another why they should or shouldn't be a client. Maybe they're late. Maybe they don't pay on time. Maybe they're slow to get you the information. Maybe they're assholes. Maybe you just don't have a good gut feeling about their integrity.
Right.
Maybe you had to battle with them over whatever positions they were taking. I don't care. Really don't. But on the 17th, that should be where our mind goes, is to which of these clients are we going to keep and which ones do we not care about keeping.
Right.
Now, that's one step. The second step would be actually acting on those two lists. You know, the one you're keeping, you want to keep in touch with, you want to set up some planning and later in this year and spend some time with them in November and December. And that becomes part of that fall roadmap is your service to those ones you want to keep. And then the ones you don't, you got choices. You send them a letter and say, we're done and good luck. You call them and say, I can no longer serve you and I wish you the best. And here's some folks that you could go and talk to, I think have capacity for you. But what I don't want is I used to send out confirmations when I was an auditor, like on cash. And so I'd confirm the amount of cash in a bank with the bank. And we have positive and negative confirmations. The positive ones, they returned to us and said, yep, that's how much money you got. We feel really good about it. The negative, we would say, if this is wrong, reach out to us. If it's right, don't worry about it. So it's like a real passive way of confirming something. Well, there's a real passive way of firing a client, which is ignore them. Ignore them. Don't schedule anything for the fall. Don't reach out to them. Don't send an engagement letter. Don't be proactive. Leave them alone. Maybe they'll figure it out. I don't like passive.
Generally, that won't work in this business.
Well, here's what works is you remain passive, you ignore them, you hope them just to go away. And then what happens January, February, March? Hey, haven't heard from you, but here's my stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then guess what happens? Guilt shows up. Guilt says,
PP comes out.
PP comes out. Exactly.
Yep.
Then the guilt says, oh, you were a dick. You could have told them this months ago, and now they're stuck and they don't have anyone else to help them. And you're the only one that can possibly get them through this tax year.
Man, I've been there.
Yeah, right. We all have. Yeah, this isn't judgment. I'm not coming from a place where I haven't fucked up a lot. But I know that passive result is just more work. There are rare occasions when they call and you're like, nope, I'm not serving you because I didn't send you an engagement letter. I don't have capacity. Good luck. And kudos to those people who have the cojones to do that. But I just know more times than not, folks would feel guilty. They feel like they have some sense of obligation. They put them in that situation. And so they're going to continue to do that work.
Well, because ethics is hammered into us from
Sure.
the get-go. So that's an ethical move to
morals
Yeah.
too, right?
Yeah. Sure.
You know, it's integrity. You know, it's like, I left you in a lurch. I could have done a better job of managing that. I didn't. So I'm going to keep doing your work. I don't want the passive, is my point. Belabored, but my point. Like, I don't want that passive approach to this. I want this to be intentional. I want it to be something managed. I want you to be able to call your client and say, I am sorry, but I cannot serve you in this coming busy season. I wish you the best. And if you are so inclined, you can even give them some names of folks that you know that could do the work, or you can just leave them and say, good luck. That's okay.
Yep.
But how we know to get rid of them, for whatever reason it might be, we have to hold some optimistic bias, the same thing I was trying to get rid of a minute ago, but we have to bring back here, that you're going to put some effort into finding more of those better clients. And that might just be knowing what they are and what they look like. So when they call, you can identify them. It might be that you ask other clients that you really like working with about some folks that they know that are like that. Or it could be you going to a networking event or doing some advertising, or it could be doing some marketing where you're getting out there yourself to do things. But there needs to be that too, because I realize that every client you let go, there's a $sign attached to it. There's also an hour attached to it. There's also energy attached to it. And I'm not too worried about the dollar, because the dollar is going to come back. What I am worried about is the energy in the hour. It's the time you're spending working on clients that don't value you, don't appreciate you, don't have the ability to pay you or be organized enough for you, and the energy that takes. Because we don't record energy in our timesheets. We don't bill for energy. But when you're up at night and you're thinking about that client that you have to meet tomorrow and how much you hate them, like that's real. Like it's preventing you from getting a good night's sleep.
And you're talking
When-
about like an emotional energy, in addition to obviously the work output.
Sure. Yeah. I'm talking about physical and mental energy.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the mental anguish of having to work with someone who doesn't appreciate you. It adds up. It interferes with dinners. You're reading a book and all of a sudden you start thinking about having to meet with that asshole. It takes something more from you than you quantify. And I'm not encouraging that we start recording energy time in our timesheets. We could bill for it though. That'd be kind of nice. Bill for mental anguish of having to work with you. That would be a great line item on an invoice. The pain in the ass that you are, $575. It's possible. But I want that intention and that strategy to come out right out of the gate on the 17th, because I know what happens. You've got your WIP. You're looking at when you're going to invoice it. You're going to start invoicing it. You're thinking about planning. You got to get your CPE. It's a reporting year here, at least. We got to get 80 hours of CPE in before the 31st. Before you know it, it's going to be Thanksgiving and Christmas. So we've got the trip scheduled. Like so many things come into motion in the fall that disrupts your ability to be strategic and intentional.
Yep.
That it just has to happen sooner. And it's not to say that we haven't done anything since April 15th. Hopefully, if nothing else, we've recovered. I also hope that we were a little strategic on our planning to get ready for these moments that are coming. But for all those clients, we've said, we're not going to do anything until we extend them and get them filed in October. Now is coming. And so I tee this up in August, and I don't tee it up in September. I don't tee it up in October. I tee it up now, because if you start to create how you want to spend that week of the 16th of October, Monday through Friday, put it on your calendar, make a list of the things you want to do that week. Identify if you want to go through your clients and fire them. Identify how you're going to know which ones you want to get rid of and which ones you want to keep. You want to identify, am I going to do it by letter or phone call, or how am I going to do it? You need to be intentional about, am I going to be out there looking for those new clients? Do I have that avatar? Am I aware of even what I want? Those things aren't going to happen on the 17th. Why? Because you're going to be tired. You're going to be thinking about invoicing, and you're going to be thinking about planning. And possibly CPE. And those things will just disrupt this, and it'll disrupt this plan, and we'll just let that hamster wheel turn again, so that we're in the same spot we are a year from now. And that's what I don't want for anyone. I want every year to be better than the year before. But the only way that happens is if we really make some change.
The accounting business model is a funny one. It requires more intentionality than almost any other business because of the seasonality of it, because of the inability to improve processes during 5 months of the year. You can't just change the software mid-tax season, or really even during the summer. It's kind of hard to change the software, because especially a tax software, because all your clients for that tax year should theoretically be on one tax software. So you have to be so intentional about it. Whereas in any other business model, you can incrementally grow constantly. I think in accounting, or at least the way we've set it up, without the capacity to do that, is you only allow yourself 2 or 3 months of the year where you can genuinely make dramatic changes.
Yeah, short windows. And then that's why those windows are so important. And the thing that you don't mention that I know you would imply or get to is that, so much is put in a concentrated space that when you get to those short windows, there's so much exhaustion and wanting to recover and recoup that there's no energy left for this type of work.
Right.
But this is that work that's in that quadrant 2 of Eisenhower's matrix, the not urgent but important. Because when you get to October 17th, guess what? There's not much urgency around anything at that point.
There's an awful lot of importance, though.
Right. There's a ton of importance. And the importance is, it's your point in time in which you can act on your intentions. You can act on wanting to create capacity for your business. You can act on getting rid of those clients that really just take more from you than you get from them, and create space either to be with your family, to take care of yourself, or to go find better clients that you really enjoy serving. But we, again, the hamster wheel, we got to break it. And if we don't do something soon after this next deadline or the next big one, we're just going to find ourselves in the same spot.
Yep. I think to your point on the hamster wheel, the one phrase that disrupts that or gets you off the wheel is intention, and then action from that intention, which will ultimately create capacity, which will allow you to be even more intentional and act on more things. And that's how you change your trajectory.
So the roadmap in my mind is, and again, I'm not going to be very specific here, but on October 17th, something should happen. There should be an analysis, or should be some reflection, or should be something that causes a change for the better. And I think it then should be mapped out. Like, what do I want to have done by October 31st? Do I want to have letters sent to the clients? Do I want to have made all the phone calls? Do I want to have all the invoices billed and the cash in the house so that I can then fire them without fear of not collecting? Whatever it is, but like maybe reverse engineer it. By December 31st, I want to have gotten rid of 10% of my C clients, or all of my C clients, and then reverse engineer that. Okay, for that to happen by December 1st, what do I need to have? Well, I need to have, maybe it's collected all the amounts or have sent the letters. And by 11/15, what will I need to have done? I needed to have created the letters, identified who I'm firing, started to look for clients to replace them. By October 31st, what will I need to have done that? Well, I would have had to done whatever. But that roadmap then becomes much more of a tactical approach to the fall, and use dates, set dates, identify by reverse engineering when you would like these things to happen so they have a chance to happen. Because one of the things I think that occurs is we start to look at this window, and it's like Indiana Jones, like when he's running around in these caves and the door's starting to come down, right? Yeah. And he's got to run and dive under the door before it seals him into the cave forever with the idol. Like as soon as we get out of the 15th, that door starts doing this, and we can kind of watch it, and we can make a run for it, and we can slide through there and get out, or we'll just watch it close, and that really seals our fate for that this next busy season will be.
Yeah.
So make like Indiana Jones and put some hustle into this, and build that roadmap so that you can get underneath that sliding door, so that you can see what's on the other side. Because I know it's better. We want optimal. That word, it's one of my favorite words. A hiker taught it to me, and how he manages his pace. He's never fully exerting himself, nor is he fully, leaning back and taking it easy. He always tries to maintain somewhere around optimal. And I don't think that's a word that accountants use very often. Sure. Is optimal. Sure. They use, oh yeah, I can do that because I can do that, and I can stay up later, and I can work longer, and I can really not take care of myself, but I'll get it done.
Yeah.
That's not optimal.
No.
Optimal is when you manage the people pleaser, you take care of yourself, and you build a roadmap to success.
Yeah. What's the minimum effective dose to get where you want to be in life and with your firm?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. So that's all I have for the roadmap. I mean, it's fairly simple. I'm not going to get too scientific. I'm not going to charge anyone too much accountability here, but create some awareness to the people pleaser and managing it. Find ways to take care of yourself and prioritize yourself, and then get strategic. And I'm not going to ask that a whole lot of strategy happens in September or October, but there are some days left in August to do that. But that focus should be on what's going to happen on October 17th until the end of the year, so that I have more capacity, better fulfillment, and a more enjoyable ride outside of that wall next busy season.
You bet. Awesome. Well, thank you, Doug. Thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you next week.
Take care.
Thank you for watching this episode of the Practicing Accountant Podcast. We hope that you've learned a little bit about self-care, about setting boundaries, and also about creating a roadmap for success. We hope you share and like this episode of the Practicing Accountant podcast, and also hope that you join us again for another episode. Thank you for watching.